Hello, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is a show designed to hopefully make the world safe, or at least safer, for ADHDers. I'm a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist. That means I'm a brain doc. And I'm also the parent of at least two ADHD kids that we are positive of. And I'm married into a family that is ripe with ADHD. Like I said, I'm a psychologist, neuropsychologist. That means I don't write prescriptions or any of that sort of thing. So I don't really like talking about medications, and it's not my favorite thing, and I don't focus a lot of my attention on it. But if you're working in the world of ADHD, you have to know something about them. Okay? ADHD meds are basically three types. You have stimulants, which most people are familiar with. You have non-stimulants, which are slightly newer, but still 10, 15 years old. And off-label use of things like antidepressants. Okay, it was actually discovered that ADHD worked for ADHD. That stimulants worked for ADHD by a doc working in a hospital, and he just thought he'd try it, and the charge nurse thought he was out of his dang mind because these kids were already, hanging off the ceiling, and so he was going to give them a stimulant. Well, it worked, okay, and they improved significantly, dip. All of these medications work by working on the neurotransmitters in the brain, okay? Now, I'm not a biochemist, but I will tell you that the brain works, it's a complicated electrochemical organ. While, if you're familiar at all, a nerve cell is, well, it's got a big long tail. That's the axon, and that connects to other neurons. And while the signal is within the nerve cell, it's electrical. When it gets to a junction where it is trying to communicate to another cell, it becomes a chemical process. One side of the meeting place secretes a neurotransmitter. The other side picks up the neurotransmitter, metabolizes it, and magic things happen. And it happens almost instantly. It's fast. So the deal with ADHD is that basically everything that is used medication-wise to treat it is because it has an effect on neurotransmitters, mostly increasing the ones that allow increased focus and concentration and so on, dopamine, norepinephrine, those things. Basically, all of those, both the stimulants and the non-stimulants, work to do that. And also certain antidepressants are known to do that, to do the same thing. What you get with biochemically increasing the neurotransmitters is you get more control. The brain becomes more like a neurotypical brain, although it's never going to be completely a neurotypical brain. And the worst of the behavior problems and the inability to concentrate and pay attention and so on is dissipated. Okay. And it's like, well, I have had and I don't make money with medications or anything like that. I don't know how many parents I've had who I would have referred, seen their child. I have made the diagnosis. I've referred him or her to a psychiatrist or in my case, where there are not a lot of psychiatrists around, family practice docs, but either way, they put them on medication. And, the mothers particularly is, oh, thank God, this is wonderful. This is the best thing I've ever seen, I've ever had. Uh, and it's darn near instantaneous. I mean, you take it, it gets on board fairly rapidly, and depending on the medication, it lasts. If it's a short-term one, it acts for about 4 hours. That's not used a lot anymore. You don't have the line at the nurse's station that was sometimes happened when they had to come get their noon dose. Now we have longer acting ones that will basically take them all day long. And that's what most people are using and most doctors are prescribing. And there are tons of stimulants. There are, I don't know, 9 or 10 of them that are used regularly. In my area, Strattera tends to be the one that is used the most frequently. It's effective. It does a good job. And people are generally pleased with it once they start on it. There is a lot of resistance sometimes to using medication to treat ADHD. And you hear the thing, it's a stimulant. It's a gateway drug. The next thing you know, they'll be using heroin or, okay. The research, yes, it is a psychoactive drug. That's why it works. Okay. But the idea that it's going to lead to substance abuse kind of misses the whole point. And the research is unequivocal. Kids who aren't treated medically have a much higher incidence of substance abuse than the kids who are on medication and being, treated appropriately. I mean, the reason is why do people start hanging on corners and trying stuff, and they're alienated? They're not things aren't working out for them. They have a neurodivergent brain, and they're in a neurotypical system. Okay, the system is not designed for the way their brain works. They are constantly fighting against themselves, and many of them who, in addition to being in the wrong system, are also getting a lot of abuse, criticism, whatever you want to call it, and so they are feeling like they don't fit in. That life sucks, and then you die, kind of thing. And they don't. Parenting can do a lot, but a lot of times parents who won't treat their child also don't know much about what ADHD is. And they think, if you've been around an ADHD kid, and Lord knows I've been around a bunch of them, their behavior can look like it's just a behavior problem. They're just little sociopaths waiting to grow up and start robbing banks. That's not what's going on. It's a neurologic condition. They are starved for dopamine, norepinephrine, the things that enable them to calm down and pay attention. And they don't have it. They don't have enough on board. Either they don't naturally make enough, or they metabolize it too fast. We're not really sure about that one. But the deal is that this is not a behavior problem. It is not that they don't want to please people, that they don't want to do the right thing. It's that they have troubles concentrating, and they keep getting into trouble because they can't concentrate, and they can't remember stuff, and they have a lot of problems because of that. The system is designed for kids who can come into a room, sit quietly all day, do what they're told, and go home at night and work on their homework and come back the next day and do it all over again. And that's just not a neurodivergent brain. That is not an ADHD kid. That's not what they're really good at. Okay, if you give them things that they're good at, they do a great job. I mean, we have got so many musicians and artists and photographers and actors and actresses and musicians and people who do also, my son does jewelry design. Who thought? Who knew? I knew he could do crazy things with paper clips, sort of like MacGyver. He'd be making stuff, paper clip and a button, and I don't know. He made lots of things. That's what they're good at. That's what they do well. If you don't have them using medication regularly, you're just going to have more troubles. Now, one other thing to think about. ADHD is normally distributed. That is, you can have just a little bit of it, or you can have a whole bunch of it. Okay. And if you have a little bit of it, you might be able to get by using compensatory strategies, uh, regular exercise and coaching and all those sorts of things, and not have to use medication. Matter of fact, there are a number of people that are well known as psychiatrists and ADHD experts, and they, Rate, Hollowell, a bunch of people who write about ADHD and do research on ADHD and treat ADHD, and they report that they have ADHD themselves, and they're treating themselves. Well, Rate is big on exercise. He says, "Oh, get about an hour in the morning of exercise, and I'm good for the day." Okay, and Hollowell is much the same, and it's not that um, they don't have some problems, but they've learned how to compensate, and still, I mean, they're incredibly productive. But that may also be uh, based on the area in life that they can hyper focus on. Like my mother-in-law, I guarantee you, she was inattentive type ADHD, but she was Phi Beta Kappa in college. You could give her a book and then you could set fire to the house and she wouldn't even notice, till she finished the book. And that, I mean, that works out for her. That's how she managed to make it through college and do extremely well. And that's the way it is for some people. You know, I can do the same thing basically. If I'm reading, I used to joke, when I was when I was a kid, I had to make up schoolwork a lot of times because we moved for the winter from one area to another, and I had to catch up with the new area. I just, give me the book and get out of my way, and I'll do just fine. Don't make me listen to lectures for hours and hours, because that's not going to make any difference. But that's the way it works. You have, we all of us, we're talking about ADHD, but for a lot of kids, there are strength areas and weak areas. I don't know how many people I know that are science geeks, and they're great as long as it's numbers and symbols and that sort of stuff. But don't ask them to write a letter or a report. They hate that stuff. And then, you go the other way. There are the people who are really into writing and creativity and all that stuff and can't stand science or math. These are things we haven't quite worked out with our education system, I'd say. But let me not belabor this too much longer. So you've got your three categories of medication: the stimulants, the the non-stimulants, and the antidepressants. Now, the antidepressants are usually, well, they're not specifically approved by the FDA for treating ADHD, but they seem to work for some people. And if you've been having a lot of trouble, find something that works. Uh, you can, uh, and your doctor is keeping up with this stuff. An antidepressant may be particularly useful. Wellbutrin's the one I hear about the most, um, and I know some folks who are having really good results on that. And as a side benefit, it improves your mood. So, okay, so three kinds of meds. You have to take them every day. You sometimes need boosters. Some people, there's a weird thing that happens. Um, some people on stimulant medication have troubles getting to sleep. Some people who have trouble getting to sleep actually need a little low dose stimulant so they can concentrate enough to fall asleep. Uh, but you need to know that the person writing the prescriptions is a bit of an expert in this area. Okay, it's uh, for most folks, just whatever his or her favorite stimulant medication is probably fine. But when you start playing around with different levels of medication, and even the non-stimulants aren't regularly used by most people. Okay, stimulants are by far the most used. They've got a long track history. They are very effective, minimal side effects. Everybody's always, oh, his growth's going to be stunted. No, it slows it down a little bit, but eventually they get to the height and weight that they're supposed to be. And that's the name of that tune. Oh, yes. And we have to talk about weeds and seeds and that sort of, that's what I call it. It's just all these different kinds of medication or non-medications. They are herbs and that sort of stuff. And I know a lot of medications come from natural herbs and so on. But right now, nobody who can recommend that stuff because there's no actual proof that it works. And you could argue, well, research not going to get done. There's no big company out there who's going to make enough money selling herbs and mushrooms of different kinds and that sort of thing. So you just have to. I mean, there's proof that the stimulants work. There's proof that the non-stimulants work. There's no proof that herbs, weeds and seeds, mushrooms, that sort of stuff. Oh. Okay. I've got a question here about the use of Adderall. I'm not sure about the way the question is written, but it says something about using it with dementia. There are experimental trials going on. Dementia is, well, it's one of those areas that gets everybody's attention. That's one thing as you get older that you want to make darn sure is that, you don't start running down the street naked and embarrassing your kids and so on. The deal with, and many neurophysiologists and that sort of thing, people who do the basic research in neurology, are saying, that there's never going to be one pill that's going to cure or keep people from getting. Oh, no. There's no indication that they cause dementia long term. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the question. So there's no particular thought that it causes dementia long term. And by and large, people have been on stimulant medication for decades and decades. I mean, it doesn't mean that there couldn't be some case where something like that appears to happen. I don't know. I mean, like even ADHD, you have there's really good genetic research suggesting that it's genetic, it's inherited, da 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 da. But then having they start using the same diagnosis to describe people who have had anoxic events, where their brain has been deprived of oxygen for a while and they have some of the symptoms of ADHD. But it's not the same stuff. Okay. That's by and large, it's going to be people who are born with it that we will call the pure ADHDers. And there are other people and other things that can happen. Like I said, anoxic events, closed head injuries, that sort of stuff can give you some of the symptoms of ADHD. As a matter of fact, I have on numerous occasions recommended that a person who had a major concussion be placed on stimulant medication and to improve their concentration and ability to stay focused on things. It's one of those things that is pretty commonly used. Okay, I have about done as much talking about medication as I want to. And I am, like I said, I'm a neuropsychologist. I do brains evaluations, that sort of stuff. I don't write meds. I just have to be in the environment where there are a lot of them going around, and so I try to give you sort of I'm a little past a layman, but the kind of information that is helpful. Okay, I will catch you next week. My website is terrygingrassphd.com, and there's a lot of chances there to sign up for a freebie call to determine if coaching would be a good fit for you or your family or your child. So, and it's an automatic scheduling system. And so, like I said, that one's a freebie. So if you're interested at all, and if coaching intrigues you, and it probably should, coaching is one of those things that is basically most ADHDers have a coach that they've been using most of their lives. And that's because ADHD doesn't go away. Just you get into new stages of life and you have new responsibilities and new things you have to coordinate. So a coach can help you through that. Alrighty, I will let you all go and catch you later.